I'm over here cracking up because I can't find the volume.
I was still enjoying the beat. We were just,
Right? We just keep on dancing today. I like
yes,
it.
yes,
Hang on just a second. Oh my goodness, Christine. December the 1st. Here we
yes.
go.
Here we
We got
go.
this. Here
We
we
got
go.
this. Absolutely.
Hello, 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 my friend.
Hello, beautiful. How are you?
I am well. It has
Good.
been, yeah, I'm well. I'm feeling well rested. I am feeling energized. I've had the last couple of days, I had like a day that was really funky.
Mm,
And then the last couple of days have just been amazing. And I don't
good.
know, I'm sure it's helped by this weather we've been having in Atlanta. Like,
Mm,
you know, it's nice fall weather, sunshine.
yes.
But I think it's a whole host of things. But, as we often talk about on the show, holding both grief and gratitude. Like there's both. And I was focusing on the gratitude today. That and yesterday was Giving Tuesday,
Mm,
and that was a pretty amazing day. And oh my gosh, I have to tell you this.
mm.
So we had a municipal runoff election in our town for city
Right.
council,
Yeah, I
right?
saw your
We had a
picture on
run,
Instagram.
right? Our candidate won by
Mm.
4 votes. 4 votes. That's my family. Those are the
Right.
people I drove to the polls.
Good job, Christine. Way to move the needle.
So
Absolutely.
it was a good day because you know how often sometimes when we're out there fighting a good fight, like you're like, oh, like it's a tough day, or
Yeah.
nothing matters, or my voice
Yeah.
doesn't count, or my vote
Yeah.
doesn't count. And I'm here to say, yes, it does. Yeah, and I was feeling this yesterday too, because like getting people and moving people and all the things that needed to happen. And so when those results came in, I was like, all right now. And the people we were reminded to vote, and the people we
Yeah.
talked about voting with, and it's just, I don't know. It was a good day. What about
Yeah.
you?
Absolutely. No, I've been amazing. Was able to get outside. Um, I love working where I work. I feel like it's mostly outside, especially as we try to um, build what our new normal is like, right? I still would prefer to be outside than inside with a lot of people. So even though I get that most of the time, it's still not the same as being outside in the fresh air and out there to just enjoy it, to be with the birds and the trees and look at nature. The sunset was beautiful yesterday as I was driving from work. So
Mm.
just been reminding myself to take a second and look at the trees, look at the birds. You're taken care of. There might be a lot of difficult things on the table, but it's not your responsibility to carry all of it or to manage every detail of it. So you can still enjoy the beautiful parts too. Like you said, both the grief and the gratitude. So I'm so proud
I
of everything.
love that
So,
so much. And remind me after we do our intro, I want to tell
yeah.
you about a TEDx talk that I saw today
Okay.
that
I can't hear you. Can you hear me? No, you can't hear me. Can you hear? I don't know what to do there. Mm-mm. Okay, you muted. Let me mute myself and we'll see. This is an on-air research study of
all right, can
technology.
you hear me now?
Yes, can you hear me?
Okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear
No?
you. Can
You
you
can hear
hear me?
me. I
No?
can't hear
Yes.
you.
Oh my goodness. Okay, let's see.
All right, hang on just a second, folks.
Let's see.
Something
Can you?
happened with my mic. It said it lost connection, but now it's saying it's back. But Shannon, I'm curious why I'm not hearing you.
Can you hear me? Testing, testing.
I can see you, but I can't hear you. You want to sign back out? And oh, I wish I was that good at American Sign Language. For those of us,
And now you're muted.
now you're back. Can you
I'm
hear
back.
me?
Can you hear me? I can hear
Yes.
you. We just
Yes.
needed to do sign language. It fixed it.
Right? Well, it
Yes.
said it looked like your mic was unplugged, but we're just sitting here having a conversation.
I don't know.
All right. All right. I need to make note of what our time is on that so Leslie can help us fix that.
Yes, I said we were doing an
All right.
on-air research study on technology.
I love it. Well, I was just saying, do we want to do our introduction?
Yes, we're 5 minutes in. Let's tell them what our names are,
Let's do it.
right? My name is Shannon Mitchell. I am a Black millennial business owner, the founder of Shayla Glow LLC, a handmade shea butter company. I'm your advocate for natural self care and practical business systems.
Hey, y'all, I'm Christine Gautreaux, a white social justice advocate, an international speaker, coach, and published author who helps you upgrade yourself and community care.
Yes, together we are Women Connected in Wisdom, a podcast grounded in the 8 dimensions of wellness.
We love to get together every week and have intentional conversations around how do we do this in life, in business, in relationship? How do we do it and stay well at the same
Hmm.
time?
Yes,
Woo! That's the thing, right?
yeah, it's a whole thing.
Today, this TEDx talk came across my LinkedIn,
Yeah.
and I'm going to put the link in the show notes for our listeners. But it was talking about how we think about stress
Mm.
affects whether stress affects our bodies or not. So this was interesting because it
Hmm.
was saying if you think that stress is harmful for your body, you have a chance of dying younger.
Mm.
But if you see signs of stress, like if you see your heartbeat speeding up as, yay, my heart's working and it's getting blood to all places of my body, or say your breathing speeds up, oh, I'm getting more oxygenated right now. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, even our mindset around stress affects our bodies, which I thought was
Mm.
fascinating. And I thought it was fascinating this time of year,
Yeah. Oh,
especially.
absolutely. I love that. Yeah, and things like that is what made me interested in getting a degree in psychology. I was listening to Paul's podcast because you told me about it, and they were talking about PTSD and stress and how you can see different situations and how a lot of times individuals who go through a lot in their childhood, because we want to understand what happened to us, that's what inspires us to get degrees in psychology, right? I personally can, I can see how that would happen. I would see how my story, people would definitely put in that category too. But really, I was motivated to get a degree in psychology because of things like what you said. How, well, you're telling me how I see the world can change, how the world affects me. And if I do it this way, I can be in a better likelihood to be healthier longer. Well, let me choose this door. And how do I make sure I choose that door consistently and in a healthy way has been what I've been focused on this year, and especially for the last month of the year as we go into 2022. What else do I need to fasten down on the foundation of everything? What's my next step for my next big goal? Hmm.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that TEDx talk was called How to Make Stress Your Friend. And I'm going
How
to
to
put a
make
link
stress
to
your
it
friend.
in our show notes so folks can read it. And you were referencing the Awarepreneurs podcast, so I'll put a
Yes,
link in there too.
yes.
I know we're here today to wrap up season 5 and
Mm.
talk
Season
about holiday
5.
wellness, right?
Ooh,
Whoop
ooh.
whoop,
Yes,
75, season
yes.
5. What episode are we on today, my friend?
Oh, 47.
What?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
We're going to hit
What?
50
What?
episodes this year,
Ooh, ooh, there's 52 weeks in a year, Christine. That means we
right?
did pretty good.
We did pretty good. We
Yeah.
had this season had our biggest tech challenges.
That's true.
You know, something to note, but we
And
made
still
it
we're here.
and we're
Absolutely.
still going. And I think that's a good thing to look at is sometimes like things going to happen. Life's going to happen. Things
Yeah.
aren't going to go according to plan. And how do we keep going in the
Yes.
midst of it? Or do
And
we
I
take a
think
day off and rest? What's needed
and
in the
both
moment.
and it changes the situation to situation. That's why I love the fact that we talk about all 8 dimensions, because sometimes what happens in finances might affect the social, or maybe it's the social that affects the finances, and it's having the foundation of the information and our identity and being confident in where we come from, and then the different parts of the situations that help us pivot and shift depending on what we need to do. But it's when those things aren't aligned, or we don't know about them, or things aren't taken care of in one category, one dimension of wellness, that's when we start being unbalanced, and um, things can become chaotic.
Right? Yeah. I always find this time of year a good time to recheck in. on a
Mm.
couple of things. Will you remind our listeners what the 8 dimensions of wellness are?
Yes, so we have environmental, that is both with the environment outside and also your physical environment, whether it's your workplace or where you live, right? Social, we just talked about. For me, especially, I mean, it's a thing all the time, but boundaries. What are your boundaries like? What are your standards for friends or relationships? How do you communicate? Even if we're talking about how it intersectionalizes with occupational wellness, how do you communicate upwards and across or down in a team? We mentioned occupational wellness. What are the needs that you need as far as the compensation you're gonna get? Maybe 7.25 an hour isn't gonna work for all of your expenses, and that's okay. But you need to know that, or your occupational wellness is gonna affect your financial wellness, and that's another category, right? Are we budgeting? Are we saving? What does our relationship with money look like? Is it healthy, or does it actually block the abundance that we're saying we want? What else? Spiritual, right? Are you connected? Are you grounded? For me, that's where my identity comes from, right? Me being connected and remembering that not everything is in my control. What else?
Physical,
Occupational,
physical
physical,
wellness.
right? We
Yep.
talked about COVID and healthy eating habits and a healthy lifestyle, and instead of a flash diet. When we're constantly focused on what not to do or the wrong things, we can be focused on the vitamins that we're adding and everything we're doing to take care of our bones and our metabolism and our immune system, and think about it that way. So all 8 flow together and
Did we mention
intersexualize.
intellectual wellness?
Intellectual, no,
Yeah,
and
because we
that's
had Wendy
perfect.
Ballou
We
this
did.
season from
Yes.
Reforming Arts on talking to us about intellectual wellness.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's perfect because me remembering, I think about
Mhm.
Alzheimer's and even remembering the lessons throughout life. That's part of intellectual wellness. Are you open to
Right.
new ideas, or do you block certain things off? That might be because of PTSD from social wellness. So they all
Right. Well, and then
intersectionalize.
emotional and mental wellness,
Yes,
which is
thank you.
huge right now for the
Yes,
holiday season. Um,
absolutely.
I don't know if it is seasonal affective disorder, which affects a lot of people when there's less
Mm,
light. I don't know if it's the
mm-hmm,
holidays.
mm-hmm.
Could be the pandemic and 2 years of things not quote unquote being normal. Um, but a lot of people are struggling right
Yeah,
now with wellness. And I think that sometimes when we have the expectations of the holidays placed on us, it just makes it worse, especially if our wellness isn't in balance, right?
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I thought we could talk a little bit about that today. I thought we could give
Yeah.
shout outs to our folks from last season because
Yes.
we had some incredible guests. And if you haven't had a chance to listen to the individual episodes, we encourage you to because, at the start of this last season, we had Ignati from Interplay that talked about
Mm,
physical wellness and clowning
yes.
around and having
And laughing.
fun.
Yes.
That was a fun episode. We had Shamika Wallace. We had a really good conversation with her. We had Dr. Wajida. We
Mm-hmm.
had Bussy Peters, who was talking about her healing project. We had Wendy Blue at Reforming Arts. And Melody, last week's episode. Woo! Yeah. I know both you and I were like, what are we doing a podcast the day before a national holiday? But it was a good one.
It was
So
great.
it
It
was
was
really
great.
good. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, our wellness next year, just so our listeners know, we may be taking that day off.
We'll plan on it. Absolutely. And we might still have a show, right? And that's part of our occupational wellness, having it recorded out.
Right?
Yeah.
And
Who
talking
knows?
about like that balance. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's what you just said, Shannon, is a good thing is it can change. We don't have to be rigid with it, right?
No.
We need
Mm-hmm.
to check in and have intentionality around it,
Yeah.
but not be rigid. I was reading an article. I'm going to pull it up so I can share it with you. Let me see if I
Mm-hmm.
can find it here. I was reading an article about holiday overload and
Mm-hmm.
holiday wellness tips to maintain good health and start the new year off right. And so many things are repetition out there. And you'll hear us say it on the show more than once, but I think it bears repeating because if we were all getting it and we were all doing it, we wouldn't keep repeating it. And I know for
Yeah.
me, sometimes I need to hear things several times.
Yeah.
In this this article that came from the Travel to Wellness site.
Mm,
Who knew that was the thing? I love
yeah.
it, right? Um, they say prioritize me time.
Mm-hmm.
And we talk about this all the time. We talk about this in
Yeah.
Still Point,
Mm-hmm.
Sheila and I's book, that taking some much needed me time isn't selfish. It's a necessary component to leading a healthy and active lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the midst of everything going on. Holidays, hullabaloo. A lot of people are, going to be tugging at our time.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to schedule some me time to help you cope with the chaos. And it can be whatever you want or need in the moment.
Yeah.
It can be yoga, taking a walk. I mean, that me, I like to stack things. So that stacks
Mm,
nicely with physical wellness, right?
mm-hmm.
It can be simply taking some time to catch up on reading. But the main thing is identifying for yourself what helps you to de-stress, detoxify, reset.
Yeah.
And that supports your emotional and mental wellness,
Yeah.
right? The other one they say, this one's a hard one to talk about, listeners,
Mm.
right after Thanksgiving in the United
Mm.
States, but practicing self-control when it comes to food.
We could talk about that too with emotional and mental wellness because I was going to do a
Right?
whole detox. I said, it's the first, I'm not going to do this. I said, you know what? Maybe that doesn't make sense. Maybe I'm not setting myself up for success. And I'm instead worried that I'll go too far instead of just being mindful throughout the rest of the month and still enjoying the holidays. So
Right?
sometimes it can be on both sides, you know?
Right. Going to extremes. You don't want to go to
Exactly.
extremes either side.
Yeah.
Yeah. We in my family, what we did is we figured out what we were cooking, and then we consciously didn't cook extra or double. Like we had
Mm.
enough that there were a little bit of leftovers because we love leftovers,
Mm-hmm.
especially when it's
Mm-hmm.
some things that we only cook one time a year, right? But we
Yeah.
didn't have so much that it was we were intentional around it. Now
Yeah.
that is not, I mean, in all transparency, that does not mean I did not eat too much of that Cajun dressing. Like
Right.
I chowed down. But the
Absolutely. Ate
good
all
news
of the
is
food on my plate.
so did three other people, and it was gone in 2 days.
Mm. Right.
What was your favorite thing you cooked last week?
Oh, what was my favorite? That's a great question. Probably the turkey wings that we made because we had
Mm.
cut all this stuff up, put it on top. I don't think I would have ever thought to put cut up onions and stuff on top of turkey wings before you bake them. You know, it was amazing with
Yum.
the herbs and everything. Again, we ate good. We ate great with duck with marmalade and all different types of stuff. But it's hard to choose.
Yum.
But yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So the next one this site recommends is to be mindful of your alcohol consumption.
Yes.
It just says, with all there's work related personal holiday parties, you might be
Hmm.
attending things and you could just lose track of it. So
Hmm.
just pay attention because that affects our physical wellness and it can also
Hmm.
affect our mental and emotional wellness.
Yeah. And
So,
it could also affect your social wellness. You get a
oh,
certain type of way after a few drinks and you don't remember, it could go left really quick, you know?
I always had the rule, whether it's right or wrong,
Hmm.
but I always had the rule I did not drink at work functions.
It's a good rule,
I
honestly.
just, alcohol's a depressant, and
Mm.
I'm a sensitive human being, so it is
Hmm.
easy to get me even more sensitive, right?
Hmm.
Like I'm
Yes,
like,
that makes sense.
ooh, I don't need that. No one's got
Right.
time for that.
Mm-mm. Not at all. Yeah.
So, this one you're gonna love because we say this often on the show, but get
Hmm.
plenty of sleep.
Yes.
You know, this was interesting. It says, like final exam anxiety, holiday anxiety
Mm.
is a real thing and can be
Mm.
worsened by lack of proper sleep. So, and it talks about most adults need an average of 7 to 9 hours of sleep for their brains to function normally. So that varies from person to person, of course, but
Right.
really, you don't want holiday burnout to hit.
Mm-mm.
So you want to take care of yourself, your basic needs.
Yeah.
I love this
Yeah.
one. Oh, go ahead.
It's so interesting how we can get in this cycle of doing too much and overextending ourselves, and now we want to get better because we start seeing the side effects of what that looks like, and then we kind of slow down, and then we get back into the habit of overextending ourselves. And it's this, I know I should be taking care of myself, but instead of being proactive, I'm reactive to the side effects, and
Right.
so that's why I've changed it to make it intentional, and let's do it every day to be preventative of us even getting there.
Well, I have to say, and this may be an unpopular opinion, but I think one of the gifts of the pandemic has been the number of things cut down around the holiday season. Like, you know, and I always liked going to holiday parties because I like seeing people and I like people, but I would do too much because I wouldn't want to hurt this person's feelings. Like, and so
Yeah,
I've kind of been grateful the last 2 years ago. Oh, it's not a thing. I'm not
yeah,
missing out and I'm not hurting anybody's feelings. It's just
mm-hmm,
like not a thing. So,
yeah.
and people totally get it when you say, no, I don't want to come to a Zoom holiday party.
I hadn't even thought about it, so you just said that. What?
Yeah.
I'm sure
But
it
it
could be
does
fun,
say in this
but
article, and I do agree with this, enjoying quality time with loved ones.
hmm,
Making time to visit old friends and relatives is exactly what the holiday season's all about. So it can be exhausting trying to make time for every single person in your life. So don't go for
hmm,
that, right?
hmm,
But like a phone call or a Christmas greeting, or it's a Hanukkah right now, like
hmm,
whatever you celebrate might brighten up a person's mood,
yeah,
and brighten your own, right?
yeah,
So
and I
taking a moment to give gratitude.
absolutely, and I think that's why when I think about the holidays and mental and emotional wellness, I know for some it creates joy and nostalgia, or even joy for future things, right? But on the same side of that, or another side of that coin, because of that, if other people are focused on their loss and the things that they don't have, that's where the extremes come from, So for me, um, gratitude is huge in helping me keep just a balanced perspective. Again, that's why volunteering helps me so much. We talk about how giving to other people gives to you. It's the same type of reaction, call and response for me personally in my life. So it helps
Right.
ground me. Yeah.
I were calling for volunteers this last week when it was starting to get cold.
Mm,
A lot of times our community warming centers or homeless shelters need folks to volunteer at this time of year,
mm.
because if it's cold outside, people need a place to stay. So, yeah, our coat drives or food drives, like there's so many ways to give back. And
Yeah.
I'm with you, Shannon. Like, it's for me, taking action
Hmm.
is one of the ways that I just deal with stress, or I deal with feeling helpless about
That's a
some
great point.
situations. You know. Yeah.
And it's always interesting when you say the things that help you, because I'm like, you know what? That helps me too. And that's been a
Yeah.
thing since my mom passed away. Everybody's like, well, you just kept going, and I'm doing all this stuff, and maybe that's why. Because it helped.
Right.
So you know what?
Right.
I don't like women passing away from chronic illness. Let's talk about women intentionally taking care of themselves on a weekly basis. And here we
Right.
are, episode 47.
It's your why,
Hmm.
right?
Of
And I
course.
know for me, it's a big part of my why when I wrote the book Still Point about
Hmm.
caregivers and self care is,
Hmm.
I don't know if I've ever told you this story, but my grandmother, my grandfather, when I was 14, passed away from Alzheimer's.
Mm,
Back before it was called Alzheimer's, like they
mm,
actually say he died of a heart, but it was just when the term was even coming out. I remember,
mm.
like it was a word that didn't even come out of your mouth right because it was so
Right.
new,
Mm,
and it was a long illness. It was about 2 years of a long
mm,
illness. And my grandmother, Mahoney, she didn't accept a lot of help. Like she was a very independent, strong woman. I mean, she was. I'm gonna show you a picture. I don't know if you can
mm,
see it. See if you can see it, our listeners. I'm just showing a picture. This is me at
mm,
my 8th birthday at my grandma Mahoney's table. And she always had her hair done.
mm,
She had that, I don't even know what that's called. Is it a bouffant where, they would put the hairspray on it and spike it up?
mm. I don't-
I don't know.
Good.
She was one of the first women to graduate from university.
Ooh.
She was a part, I can't even remember her title in World War II, what she
Mhm.
did, but she was part of a brigade. And then she was a working woman. She was an accountant. Back
Mm.
when, women, it was pretty radical to work outside of the home, especially for white women at that time. It was like a
Especially in money. Okay.
right.
That's
People
a
were
whole
like,
nother.
right. So
Yeah.
she was an accountant for a doctor's office. And it always she was amazing, but she was really independent. And so when my grandfather got ill,
Mhm.
she didn't accept a lot of help, even though the family was trying to help, and she
Mm.
didn't want to put him in a subpar nursing home. And so
Mhm.
she took care of him. And what that meant is like she would work all day and he'd be sleeping because he had his days and nights mixed up. And then she'd be up most of the night with him because he
Mm.
didn't understand why she was sleeping. And so
Mm.
it really took a toll on her wellness. And so he had passed away. And I will never forget this because it was when computers were first coming out. I'm totally dating myself here, y'all,
Mm.
but computers were first coming out for the average person. And she had signed up, she was in her 70s and had signed up to go take a computer class. This is how, I mean, she was just a badass. This
Mm.
woman was incredible. So she's taken a computer class so she can take her office accounting and completely computerize it. She was a trailblazer. And she
Definitely.
was redoing the house. She was doing all these things and she dropped dead from an aneurysm.
Mm.
And the doctor said that it was stress, that it was the effects of caregiving and not taking care of herself for the last 2 years because she had not prioritized sleep or, probably eating as healthy as she, I'm not sure on that part. I was still a kid. I mean, I was 14, but, that's one of my whys when we talk about this work and we talk about prioritizing wellness. Because y'all, especially for ladies and caregivers and activists, and it is dangerous to not prioritize your wellness. Women die younger than they should because of it. So
Mhm.
it's I know we sometimes people are like, oh, I don't know. Yeah. Whoo, we got
I'm writing it
deep
down.
quick.
Dangerous. No, really
Right?
though, it is dangerous to not prioritize. I think it's worth saying again, because we're so used to it, it's dangerous to not prioritize your wellness. Because what the social culture, right, has been is to overextend yourself to be nice to people because everybody should like you when that's never like it's never gonna happen. If
Right?
you go left, somebody's gonna be mad you didn't go right. You go right to appease those people, and the left people are upset. And so, what should you do for your purpose? And that's every day, And I think with we talk about racism, we talk about sexism. It's a new paradigm shift to understand that even though it's the holidays, I still have to work X amount of hours. There's still only 24 hours in a day. I need somebody else to help me with these added tasks on this to-do list because it's added 5 hours that I don't have, and
Right?
not doing that over time, of course, So communicating what we need and knowing what we need first. That's what I had to work on when COVID started. It's like, okay, well, let me see where I am in these situations. Let me see where my money is, right? And I can figure out what I need, and then I can sort what's my responsibility, who can help me with this part, and then I have to figure out how to ask for help from there. But it's definitely a process.
Right? We talked this week in our radical self and community care class. We were talking about partnership power,
Hmm.
right? One of my favorite skills of self care is
Yes, my
just
too.
what you said. Who can help me with this? Who can be a
Yeah,
partner with me in this? It
yeah.
is, there's a lot of people that need other people to help them. Boy, I just looked outside, Shannon. Sorry,
Yes.
total squirrel moment. The sunset is gorgeous tonight.
Hmm.
So it
Oh,
is, I'm only seeing a reflection of it because my windows go to where the sun rises, but I can tell the way the light is reflecting in the clouds. I'm seeing like pink and blue and purple.
it's
So the
beautiful
sunset has
yesterday.
got to be gorgeous tonight.
And the sun was red and it was like a light blue. It was like orange and it was magnificent. I was trying to take a picture, but cameras don't even serve it
they
justice a
don't
lot of times.
capture the glory,
Mhm.
right?
You just have to be there.
I always that's one of the things we talk about, like about getting out in nature. And part of
Yeah.
that is because like you just feel it in your whole body when you see
Mm.
something like that. You're like, whoa,
Mhm.
yeah, I love that.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So
Um,
talking about holiday wellness, what are you
yes.
doing for wellness? What practices are you working on right now?
Mm. So I am doing a couple of different things, preparing for next year, right? And doing that first by reprioritizing the things that I thought I would get done at a certain amount of time for the last quarter, right?
Mhm.
So reorganizing those things. What can I realistically do in December? And then what does 2022 look like? And not being over analytical or just trying to over plan stuff. But I know as a business owner, I'm going to have a Mother's Day sale. We know that we're going to have a Father's Day sale. So getting those dates set up and already on the calendar helps me keep my time boundaries. So doing that. Um, what else? Making sure I do my hair more often. I dyed it. I told my locks. So this is another thing I don't think we've talked about as far as physical wellness. I talk to my locks like it's a plant, right? And
I
I
love
told
it.
it, thank you. I told it, I said, I'm gonna dye you, but I'm not gonna kill you. Okay, I'm gonna take care of you. So I've been doing my hair and doing my facials, um, and even just like a meeting as a business owner.
Hang
What?
on. So just a little plug there. You are glowing from head to toe.
Thank you, thank you. That's what we're gonna talk about next year. How we take care of ourselves. Right?
Right?
Yes. um, but yes, and keeping so just like a business owner or somebody that's networking, right? I want to set the date for the next meeting before this meeting ends. I try to do the same thing with my nail and my hair appointments now. So I know that in 6 weeks out or in a week, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever the increment is, I need to go ahead and look on my calendar to find time because it'll be here and I'll be missing it before I know it. So working on that is
I
something I've
love
been
that.
intentionally doing. Thank you.
Unlike the way I do it, whereas when you say, "Hey, we need new headshots," and I say, "Oh, okay,
Yeah.
let me schedule a hair appointment."
Yeah. Mine's like the rainforest, okay? You definitely see a difference. Like it's gotta be maintained.
I have to tell you, my hairdresser is very grateful for you. She's like, "What? I'm seeing you more than like I don't think I've seen you this." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's
Yes.
because my co-host is much younger
Yes.
than I am, and she likes headshots."
Yes, tell her I said hey.
I love it. I love it. Well,
um,
we were talking
so yeah.
earlier with it being December 1st. I was looking
Yes.
up like what does December 1st stand for and what is the month of
Hmm.
December. And you talking about what you're up to with your business. Did you
Yes.
know that December is National Write a Business Plan Month?
Mm, I did not know.
Who knew?
And I need to update mine. So I'm gonna do that this month too.
All right. I don't want to put
Yeah.
anything else on your list. It is also National
It's
Pear
so
Month,
yeah, it is
which I find interesting. But in Operation Santa Paws, I'm going to put a link to this so people, I always find stuff like that interesting. Like, who
Hmm.
sits around and thinks about this stuff, right?
And how many different ways are we gonna name the same month or the same day? But that's what I
Right.
think about.
Well, one important thing that I do want to give a shout out is December 1st is World AIDS Day. And it is also Day Without Art Day, which is about bringing awareness to the AIDS epidemic. And yes, it's still a thing, y'all. Like, we
Yeah.
need to be paying attention to it and having
Mhm.
discussions
Yes.
because it impacts especially communities of color and Black gay men the hardest. And
Mm.
so we need to be paying attention and just, I think knowing is
Yes.
sometimes half the battle. Like, okay, this is important because
Hmm.
we've all been affected. Like, what people don't realize is when you start talking about it, somebody or know somebody who's died of
Hmm.
AIDS. Like
Hmm.
my co-author's son, Ken, died of AIDS.
Mm.
And it impacts so many people in this world. And there's so much shame and stigma attached to it that people don't want to talk about it. And it's like,
Yeah.
y'all, we got to talk about this. It's a
Yeah.
health issue. So,
And that's exactly what I think about with emotional and mental wellness in general. We have to talk about
yeah,
things that happen, like,
right?
um, but again, and that's why when I read this book and I realized the culture of silence, I realized how relevant that is. You know, people are silent about a lot of things, and we don't talk about them. We don't process them. The holidays, when people are talking about the things they're grateful for, thinking about the things that they could have done better throughout the year, that brings up a lot of stuff that hasn't been processed. You know, so I think that plays a big part in it too.
Well, and to remind it to be gentle with
Yeah.
ourselves when we're
Hmm.
looking. One of our guests, I think it was season one, Dr. Cynthia Phelps, who does the Inner Ally.
Mm.
She and I have been mastermind partners for years. And one of our practices that we do this time of year is we look at our wins. We
Hmm.
literally sit and we write down what worked this year. And now I will tell you because I don't have a great memory. I haven't. It's not age. It's just I haven't since so it's just not part. It's not the way my brain works. So what
Mm.
I do is I look at my calendar and I look at the pictures in my phone and I
Hmm.
write down all the wins for this year. What worked? And if things pop up that didn't work well, or I didn't
Yeah.
get finished, or it didn't quite go the way I wanted it to go,
Yeah.
be gentle with yourself. Like have good self talk when you talk to yourself about that because you're doing the best you can.
Absolutely. And
If
I
you could
think
do better, you would.
and I think that's a boundary and a standard that I set for myself, right? And that helps with my emotional and mental wellness too. That I know that if I set this boundary for myself, I'm going to challenge myself to reach it. Of course, not being
Yeah.
perfect, not always being the drill sergeant coach that has to talk to you a certain way again, because you have to talk to yourself a certain way. But I know that that's one of the four agreements: do your best. So if I'm making realistic goals, I know what the big picture is. I know what the final um, goal is, and I've broken it down into specific, measurable, attainable, relative, and time bound goals. Then I can move certain pieces if I need to, if something comes up, and again, still have grace because I know it's not my fault that my tire had a nail in it, and I had to use that time instead of on my business to get something fixed for my tire. I can look at that on my planner and see, you know what, this was outside of my control. Let's move it to next week, and it's still within the same month. And I think that's something else at the end of the year. People feeling like they may or may not be on time with their timeline.
Right. And here's the thing we know as business owners, right? Everything takes 3 times longer than you think it's going to take. I mean, really and truly, it's just a fact. Like these people that are overnight successes, they've been working at it for 10 to 20 years, most of them. So it's like and just keep going. Like
Yeah,
take this step, put the intention out there and keep going. And and I like what you were saying about reviewing the year, but
mhm,
also looking for the good. And you
yeah,
said something else about goals that I really want to highlight, Shannon, talking about
mhm,
breaking it down. In
yeah,
interplay, we often talk about incremental steps that we get into trouble in little steps and we can get out of trouble in little steps. And I think about that. That's true with all our wellness, right? That's all
yeah,
of, if
yeah,
we're in, not to say trouble, not to put judgment on it, but if we're out of balance, if we're not quite
yeah,
where we want to be, if we're, not quite reaching the goals that we set for ourselves last year, that to be gentle with ourselves and just what's the next step?
absolutely. And sometimes I think that people take being honest with being harsh. You know, I'm also honest with other people, so I'm honest with myself. And sometimes there may be somebody who's like, hey, it took me 15 years to start working on what I said. You can be honest
Mhm.
and still give yourself grace and sit with the details of
Right.
everything that happened so that you can really calm through it. But then, yeah, let's start it now, you know, because a year from now, you'll wish you would have started today. And that's how I felt about,
Oh, we lost her. We've been having this thing with tech recently where about 40 minutes in, we lose Shannon. So hopefully she's going to come back because we don't have a guest today. It's me and her. But for those of y'all that are listening, we are just talking about holiday wellness. We are talking about how to be well and wise during the holiday season. Well, just like clockwork, my friend.
Yes. Crazy.
So wild. So
Still in the
wild.
research study. We spent season 5 in the research study of technology.
Right? We're fixing it for season 6. We're going to figure that
Yes.
out. Well, talking about tools and techniques we're using, I think I've mentioned it on the show before, but I'm getting back to my
Mhm.
morning pages. The Artist
Mm.
Way, Julia Cameron. Have we ever talked about that before?
We have, and you said that she recommended up to 3 pages. And yeah, that's usually
Long
about the amount.
handwritten,
Hmm.
long handwritten.
What
I know
else?
you're and I know you're really good at it doing your journal writing, and I just find it so effective, like to clear the clutter out of the brain and to have a spark of creativity and aliveness. And I've just been grateful for that.
Yeah, yeah. And I know for different people, different things help, you
Yeah.
know. I was talking to one of my coworkers this week about journaling, and she said that it didn't really help her outside of just writing stuff down. And I get that. For me, it helps me go through the very detailed details of the stories, right, that I would want to repeat over and over again to my best friend or my partner or this person or that person that I might be close to. And instead of having these people use the space to hold for me because I feel a certain type of way about all these details, I can just write it down. Like, I can't believe she said that X, Y, and Z, and just let it go because clearly I'm taking it personal, even though I shouldn't. And this
Mhm.
is why, and then I can be done with it and I can move on.
Whew, that's so hard though sometimes, isn't it?
It
I
is,
had something
yeah.
like that happen this week where somebody told
Mm,
me a story they have about me in their head, and I was just like,
mm,
that is just not like it's so opposite of the facts that back it up, but we can't
mm.
control what other people think about us, right?
No, we can't.
And everybody comes with their own filters and their own wounding and how we meet each
Hmm.
other. And I said to somebody this week, I'm like, being human is messy.
Mm.
Like, it's messy. I mean, part of it is the joy of it, and part of it's like the right.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
That's such a good point. And I felt that way about bruises and stuff growing up. They told us as little girls, you can't get cut up. You don't need to have bruises. Your legs should be nice. And how do you expect me to go through however many decades of life and not have a bruise or a scratch or a cut or something? Like, it's not realistic. We have to have realistic expectations.
Okay, so a complete left turn, but I was
Yes.
laughing at myself this week because I was scrolling through some kind of social media, probably Instagram or something, and
Hmm.
it was one
Hmm.
of those funny ads about your soulmate's initials are on your thumb, like on your left thumb. Well, I look
Hmm.
down and there's a scar there.
Okay.
What does that mean?
That's
But that
a
just
good
what made me
question.
it's what made me think about it when you said that about bruises, because
Hmm.
being rough and tumble, like I grew up on a
You
small
know?
farm, and we
Yeah.
just like I can't tell you like how many scars I have from who knows what I was doing, or
Right.
probably something I wasn't supposed to be, but
Hmm.
and then growing up in athletics and sports, like
Yeah.
I grew up in a time where, we didn't really have physical therapists. And if you weren't bleeding, then
Mm.
you kept going. And,
Mm.
and sometimes if you were bleeding, you kept going if you weren't bleeding that bad. So,
Right.
yeah, it's interesting this culture that we live in, right? I was looking, there was
Mm.
another thing I was reading on LinkedIn this week. It was about to stop glorifying
Hmm.
the overproduction and the overdoing and the not sleeping, the
Yeah.
burnout, the
No,
this and
definitely.
that. And
Hmm.
yeah, and and I am completely in agreement with that. And I think also as women, sometimes it's hard because, okay, yeah, it's not that I want to do all these things, but there's a lot of things to get done. right? So how to balance it. And I think that's where the partnership power comes in, like asking for help or support, or, if
Hmm.
you have the privilege of being able to hire it, like if it's something that you can trade with somebody or hire, like
Hmm.
giving yourself support, especially during this time of year when things are so busy, or just giving yourself
I
the
love that.
grace that it doesn't need to get done. We're going to let that
Yeah.
go. So,
Yep. Yep. And also having the confidence to have those conversations, right? And one thing I love that I learned as a manager is trust but verify. So we had the conversation. I trust that it's going to get done, right? That's if we're going to have a win-win situation and a win-win type of relationship as we continue moving forward, collaborating. Again, whether it's us, whether it's business partners, whether it's friendships or co-workers, then first I have to tell you how I need your support, right? This is what you're
yeah,
doing this shift, this is what I'm doing. But then if it doesn't happen, either A, I have to, or maybe this is not A, but one option is if you don't do it, but it still has to get done, now I have to do it. Or now what does that conversation look like? Hey, you said you would do this. Where are we with that? Or why didn't it happen? Is there something? I love your question. Is there some way I could support you in doing that? You know,
right.
and being able to have those uncomfortable conversations, I think is something that we as ladies could do better and still hold that boundary. I said I needed your help because I need your help. So if you can
Yeah.
do it, I need you to handle it because
Yep.
I already told you I don't have the time.
Yeah.
And that's fair and that's
Yeah,
realistic.
absolutely. And I think that goes back to knowing ourselves too, Shannon. Like
Yeah,
knowing
that's a good
ourselves
point.
of what is supportive. Like what do we
Hmm.
need? Because I think sometimes as women we're so busy doing that we don't even stop to check in with ourselves to know, what do I need? That old adage of, oh, it's easier to do it myself. Well, the reason it's
Yeah.
easier to do it yourself is because we haven't stopped to say, how could somebody support me? Like,
Yes.
what would that look like? What to take
Yes.
something off my plate? So
Yeah.
I'm thinking
And
wisdom in action this week is
mhm.
taking one thing off my plate
mm, mm.
for
I think I'm
holiday
gonna join
wellness.
you in that. I like it.
Okay.
I like that. And I will say, because I did get this workbook, I'm really excited about it for
What'd you
my
get?
business. And I actually got like a bundle. I used
Okay.
the Black Friday to my advantage and got
All right.
some different things to help set up again, like I said, the rest of the foundation of the system. What do I need to delegate? What do I need
Right.
to automate, excuse me,
Yep.
right? And we use systems. Clearly, we're using one right now to stream live at 5 every week. So what do I have somebody else do? What can I do? And then what can I automate? And hopefully that'll take at least one thing off of my list.
Ooh, I like it. I
Yeah,
like it a lot.
that'll be
Well,
mine
talking
too.
about that business of yours, as I'm sitting
Mm,
here rubbing on some amazing Shalo Glow oil,
thank you.
what do you have going on over there for the holidays?
Yes, yes. So for at Shaylo Glow, we did have an amazing Black Friday sale. Shout out to everybody that I met on Auburn Avenue. It was cold, but I had such a great time. Reminded me of when I was out there for those Christmas parades as a band nerd, and now I'm out there for my business. But we've been having a great time explaining the different kits that we have. Again, the Glow Kit is going to come with the sugar scrub, oil, and the shea butter. Depending on what you need is would dictate which size you get. We have the travel and glow kit. That's when you need to go through TSA. You don't want to get the product when you get to your destination or worry about throwing it away. We've made sure that each of the products gives you the most product and it is under that 3.4 TSA requirement. And then we have the home glow kit for when you're using it at home or for your home bodies, for your family after the shower, before you go to work, before you go to bed. You're rubbing it on your joints because it helps with circulation. You're going to need a little bit more. And we have those two kits available for you on the site and the products for individual purchase if you prefer. And for all of our Women Connected and Wisdom listeners, we have our WISE5 discount code that you can always apply on there to make sure that you always get the best price for your products.
I love it. Thank you for doing that for our listeners. I think
Of
that
course.
is fantastic and such a gift. Yeah,
Yeah.
and if anybody needs extra support this time of the year, you are more than welcome to reach out to me. I offer our listeners a free inquiry consult, and you can find that info in
Mm,
our show notes. And happy to be of support if we can, and just
absolutely.
grateful. You know, my friend, I think I said it last week, but I want to say it again. I am so grateful for you and our
Thank you so much.
conversations and 46 episodes.
Ooh,
What?
ooh. I think we're at 47. I think 47. And I definitely, I'm grateful for you. Our relationship by itself is historical. So all the women that we're gonna connect and the lives that we get to improve, uh, it makes me feel like I'm in my purpose, and I'm happy and glad to be here with you. So thank you for everything you do.
Okay. You too. Right back at you. Well, all right, y'all. Another week
Okay.
down. And so
Yes.
let's get out there and take care of ourselves, right? While we're taking
Yes.
care
And
of
rest.
others.
Absolutely. Absolutely required. And we will be back next week live at 5 for season 6. And in the meantime, be well, be wise, and be whole. We'll see you next week.
See you soon.